In our modern world, we take string for granted. It's just one of those things that's just laying around everywhere. Yet in a survival situation, it could be the difference between life and death. Whether you're going to be making traps, fire by friction, nets, or just lashing for shelters. So today I'm going to show you how to get cordage from natural materials. As you can see, this fallen goat willow has a lot of epicormic growth that's put on a bit of a diameter, and it's this sort of growth that I'm looking for at this time of year because it's still relatively young growth and therefore it should peel off easier when it comes to taking the bark off. So I'm just going to remove this branch here. There's not a lot of side laterals as well, which means that I'll have a nice flush piece of cordage from this stem here. Perfect for the job. The next thing I need to do is to take the outer bark off. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to use the back of this little pruning saw and just basically rubbing it up and down, taking off all the outer bark. But as you can see, the nice green cambium underneath is untouched. Once you've taken off all the bark, you'll pretty much end up with a slightly pale green looking stick. The next bit we want is the outer bark from the heartwood, so we need to remove that. This is where the knife comes in. I'm going to make a cut all the way down on the best side, avoiding any knots. As I go all the way down. So now I've made the cut all the way down. What will happen is you can get your finger just inside, and because it's still a bit moist when the sap was rising, you can peel off this outer bark. And there's your basic material for your cordage. Okay, so now I've got my material. I want to cut it into smaller strips. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to use my knife again, and I'm going to feed this bark just in front of the blade. And then I will draw the bark towards me like so. So as you can see from this piece of bark and the knife, I've cut myself a strip. I've also cut a spare one to extend the cordage. So the next thing I need to do is to start whipping the cordage. So I'm just going to bend that piece of cordage over my index finger and give it a twist on one side, twisting it away from my body. And I'll use these two fingers to clamp that, and then I'll do the same on the other side, twisting away from my body. And what will happen once I let go, they'll kink like this, and then I'll just twist that kink and repeat the process, twisting away, and then twisting the two together. So as you can see, after a little bit of twisting, a nice piece of cordage is developing. The problem is one bit's going to finish before the other bit, so what I need to do is, in order to lengthen the rope, is to lay alongside the other piece of cordage that I've made, twist them two together, and then continue twisting away, and twisting together and then what will happen is you'll have a longer piece of rope and there won't be two weak points at the same point. So as you can see, I've made quite a long piece of cordage here. There's a couple of little snags I need to cut off where I've joined the extra strips, but that's a nice strong piece of cordage there. Now if I doubled this up, obviously I will be doubling up the strength of the rope, so this will be a very useful piece of rope, especially if you're doing something like fire by friction, where the abrasive action of thinner cordage would give up very quickly, but something like willow or lime, something like that, you've got a really strong bark, and that might give you enough time to get an ember. So it's a very useful technique to learn. I hope you enjoyed learning, and I hope you end up making one yourself.